Hey guys, how's it going? All right, so since New Year's Eve, we've had respiratory crud going through our house. So my voice is a little bit off. So this video is really different, and I apologize now if nobody can understand what I'm saying. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below and I will do my best to answer. I actually did all of this a few days ago, but did not do any talking because I had no voice. So what I made that night was just Instant Pot chili, and it was super simple, crazy easy. So I'm just going to, what I did is I actually just took pictures, and I'm going to voice over those now so that you guys can see how we made that chili and how it turned out. It was actually really good. One thing I will say too is there were some leftovers, and the next day the rice had continued to plump up. So there really wasn't much liquid left, so it was really thick, but it was really good to eat still. And for those of you who follow on Instagram, you know, I recently started Weight Watchers as well, and it's a 2-point meal. That's awesome for those who don't know that. Anyhow, I will put that as well as the ingredient list down in the comments below. And like I said, if you can't understand something I'm saying, just feel free to ask and I will leave it in the comments. And I will see you guys at the end of the video.
All right, guys, since I didn't take pictures of these individually, what I have here is one medium yellow onion cut up into the size that we prefer, along with some beef stew meat from Sam's Club that I cut into smaller pieces and freeze in individual bags and use for meals like this. I didn't take pictures of those. Now I'll go ahead and I'll show you the rest of the ingredients before I get into showing you how to put it all together. This is the beef Better Than Bouillon that I used instead of beef stock. I actually did not have any on hand, but I did have this. All you have to do is follow the directions for the amount to dissolve in hot water, and then you would add it just like you would beef stock. Next up is this really large jar of paste picante mild salsa. This is something that comes in a 2-pack at Sam's, and honestly, it was just easier than adding in the spices I would have for chili normally, and it actually gave it a really good flavor. The kids really enjoyed it, and, well, it simplified things for me, and I didn't have to measure, which I don't do anyhow. I have a mixture of red beans and kidney beans. These are something, as you can tell by the date up there, that I soak these myself and then freeze them for use later on in meals. I thought I was out and actually had this one bag left, which is partially what prompted the chili. It's something that's really simple to do. I'll show in another video. If you don't do this already or don't know how, don't want to, you can use canned beans. It's just not something that we prefer in our house. I also added 2 cans of diced tomatoes. You can use fresh if you want. I wasn't going to bother doing that. Once again, this is Kirkland brand because, you know, that's just something we enjoy. We like the flavor of their tomato products a little bit better. 2 cans is about the perfect amount for the amount of chili that I was making. One thing you may notice is that I add a lot of organic brown rice to our soups and meals and stuff like that. It kind of acts as an extender. It's got some extra nutrients itself, and well, it just kind of works. It takes everything further, like I said, an extender. So I added brown rice to this chili too, because there's no exceptions in my book, I guess. All right, so now it's time to make it. I went ahead and sauteed the onion in a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of the Instant Pot. As soon as I added that, I added my stew meat pieces because they were frozen, and I did not want the onion to become overcooked while the meat was still raw. So go ahead and saute those up together, and once the meat has a nice brown on it, it does not need to be cooked all the way through. Go ahead and start on with the next ingredients. While that meat and onions are sauteing and browning up in the pan, I went ahead and mixed my bouillon with hot water. You can kind of see it in the bottom of this picture, the tablespoon scoops that I put in there. Start mixing, and then it's going to start to look a bit like this. It gets a lot of white bubbles on the top, so it's kind of hard to get a clear picture. So that's why now here's a second one of me stirring it so you can see that brownish color to the liquid. I let the Better Than Bouillon sit to the side for a minute and finished up with the meat and the onions. As you can see here, the meat is mostly brown. You see a little bit of peeking through and stuff, which is okay because remember, this is going to be cooked under pressure. All of that meat will finish cooking. So do not stress it if it looks a little bit raw yet. It's going to come out just fine. Once that meat and onions are done cooking, go ahead and drain off the grease. Then add in your beans. You can see here that I added the red beans on top, ice and all. It's all going to cook. Next, I added in 2 cups of the organic brown rice. You want to go ahead and do it at this stage because it needs to be completely covered by liquid for that rice to cook properly. So go ahead and pour that in on top of everything, and then we'll add our liquids. This part was super simple. Literally just dump in the entire jar of salsa on top of the rice and everything else. Once you've emptied out your salsa jar, go ahead and add in your broth or your Better Than Bouillon, whichever you are preferring to use. I did use 4 cups worth, which would be 1 box of broth if you use that instead, 1 large box, or it was 4 tablespoons of Better Than Bouillon. I almost actually forgot to add the tomatoes, but this was the perfect time to add them still, so no harm, no foul. Go ahead and dump those in. You can do it earlier on if you want to as well. They can go near the salsa or anywhere else, so go ahead and add the tomatoes to your mix. Now that you have all of your ingredients together, go ahead and put the lid on. Make sure that you check your vent on top. It has to be pointed towards sealed because if it's venting, it's not going to come to pressure and it's not going to cook, which you really need since there is still some undercooked meat inside. Now it's time to start cooking. You'll see that there's a bean chili option, but I actually prefer to use the meat stew option because it's 5 minutes longer and we do have that undercooked meat. So go ahead and hit meat stew. Once your lid is on, you've hit that, give it to the count of 3 and it'll start on its own. Most of you probably already know that, but if you're new here, that might be new news. You just do that, it'll say on, and then it'll give you the 35-minute countdown, and it'll go from there. Once your Instant Pot says that it's done cooking, you can go ahead and start the quick release, which is basically where you just turn that valve carefully with your hand out of the way to the venting position. I did have to drape a towel over the top of mine this time because it was spitting quite a bit, and I just didn't want that liquid everywhere. So you can drape a dry kitchen towel over it. Just make sure you move it right away and then wipe up any dripping or excess. Once the pin drops, you can safely open the lid, and this is what my chili looked like as soon as I took the lid off. You notice that the top ingredients are actually what you see in the top, and then in the next picture you'll see where I stirred it and kind of brought everything up to the surface. So here's where you see all of the rice and beans and meat being stirred up. Just bring everything from the bottom up to the top and then serve and enjoy.
All right, guys, that was the Instant Pot chili. I hope you were able to understand everything. Like I said at the beginning, if you have any questions, didn't understand something I said, leave a comment down below and I will answer it as best as I can. And don't forget to like this video. Let me know if you try it, how it works for your family. Remember too, you can scale back some of the ingredients. Not everybody's feeding a family of 9 or more. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have a lot more coming. And guys, I'm going to be doing at least 1 to 2 recipes every week, as well as grocery hauls and just general daily life. So you never want to miss something. But I will see you in the next video.